Okay. We'd like to welcome everyone once again to City Chat. We do this first Wednesday of every month and just come and talk about Lebanon and have special guests kind of come and talk with us about their departments and what's going on. We're glad to have you with us. Found out we're a little bit of cousins on down the way. Glad to have you here. And Trina,
Kathy.
I misread it then. I'm sorry. So, we're glad to have you, Keller Williams. Anyway, here comes a few more people. Glad to have you. Hey, Phil.
Good morning.
Good to see you. They didn't bring you the pig in the blanket. How
are you doing?
Hey! Well, Phil, how are you?
I'm good.
Anyway, we've had some pretty exciting things happening in Lebanon this last couple of weeks. We had the National Junior High Rodeo, first time east of the Mississippi. I think they had about 1,065 or so contestants and all. I talked to a few of the doctors that worked on a few of the kids. They had a few broken bones, but we had a lot of people that came out into our community and patronized like the Roxy, the Walmarts, the grocery stores, the little markets, the restaurants all over town. The one thing I heard was that makes you really proud is that people would, when you see them at the rodeo, and they say, we're so impressive how friendly this community is. And that says an awful lot about our community. It encourages them to come back again a little later. I haven't seen the numbers on it, but I think, Robert, you've heard a little bit, and I think it's going to be pretty good numbers for the city and all, and for the county, hopefully. We hadn't got all the numbers in, and look forward to hearing about that. We had 4th of July celebration. We got through it Monday night in all the rain showers off and on. Had about a 30-minute production of fireworks and all, and we've shot them off at a different location this time, and so when you came in off Tennessee Boulevard, it was backed up all the way to the softball fields of parking, and then over in the big field off of Peyton Road. So we had a good crowd. I have no idea how many, but it was everybody waited on through the rain and all, had some really good music and entertainment, and a few people came out for food and all. But it was a great 4th of July in spite of the rain. And we're always got to be mindful and appreciative of the people that have always served for our community. Coleman wore me out again. He won 7 games to my 1. I think that it's cheating when you can throw 1 and get 2 in. That's the way he did. He did it 6 times on me, and he's good at that. So.
Why don't you cheat back?
Well, I can't really call it cheating. It's really his skill on his part. But I tell you what, it's very demoralizing of how you think you've got him where you need it, and you're ahead, and then he throws 1 and 2 go in the hole. It just makes it hard.
Are we talking horseshoes?
No, cornhole. We have a thing going on right now. The Give 65 is donations giving for in the competition to be awarded an additional like $10,000 from Homestead Healthcare. And that's going on. If you interested in maybe talking or giving anything, we'll get you information on that. But call Patty Watts over there at the center. catch people up on our gasification. It's moving along real well. Getting the towers up. The gasification, if you're not familiar with it, it is where we're going to be converting wood chips, tires, and sewer sludge into electricity to offset our electric bills at the sewer plant. It's going to be up and operational, I think, about October, 1st of October or something like that. And once we get it, we plan to have a major ribbon cutting and announcement, and we're expecting probably 600-700 people or more to be coming in from all over for this event. So it's going to be really big. Also, it's going to be giving us a return on our investment here. And it's something that we're planning to work with Cumberland University of setting up courses that involve the training and learning of this process and all. Pet Park, we're got a little bit of rained out right now, but it's moving on. It's over behind the bowling alley and right by New Leash on Life. We've got the fencing up, and we're going to be kind of putting some wood around that fencing and posting the wires, and made a lot of improvements. And so hopefully about toward the end of August, we hope that we'll have that up and ready for the community. Let's see, July 12th at Maple Hill Church of Christ at 6 o'clock. I'm going to be meeting with area residents of that area and invite people to come and join us. We'll be talking about the Green Tree tax credit property project there that's going on to tax credits to go to improve that area of the apartments there. And a lot of people have heard information that is not right, totally wrong, and so we are looking forward to hello Mark, and wanted to get out and tell them exactly what the tax credits are for, what's going to happen, and how that works and all. But that's July 12th, and we're going to have Tick Bryan and Rick Bell, who represent that area, going to be there. So last night we had a short agenda and all, but the one big thing is talking about annexation and plan of services and rezoning of some property up here north on 231 across from Contiki. The project there is asked for a rezoning of a RS20, which is, that zoning allows for lots have to be larger than about 100 by 200, which are huge lots. It's not the market that people are looking for that are developing now. But anyway, that's what they asked for, and they're looking at building 275 to 300 plus homes dollar-wise. We passed 4-2. I think had a couple of councilmen worried about traffic 231 North, but up there I looked at traffic counts. It's roughly 10,000, less than 10,000 cars or trips a day now. Give you an example over here at South Maple and Leeville Pike, where I did the remodel of the property there. You have that much traffic at a four-way stop, So anyway, that will be coming on. Our gasification, as I talked about it, we did Rockwood agreement of that. And Rockwood is a partner and owned a lot by LoJack, and they're working with us on taking the tires, cutting them down, and all. And the wood chips, and so we're hiring them to kind of do that, and it saves us from having to invest about $800,000 for a chipper and all. Works out better for us, better control. On my right here, I have Sarah Hastings. She's our economic development lady, economic director. We've had a real good run here lately of attracting new developers. A lot of people looking at it for restaurants and all. Sarah's been involved with that, coordinating and working with the city codes and planning and everything, and trying to get them online as quick as we can. One big success here, Dairy Queen on the west side of town. If you've been by there, the parking lot's been full since they opened a week and a half ago or so. It's just unreal what the number of people in there going in there. We have other restaurants that are looking at us, a lot of hotels, even developers looking at building some more houses and all. And that's one thing that we had a big run on apartments for developers to build them, and we have something like 3,000 units that are planned across the whole city or being built or coming online. But now the developers for the subdivisions are starting to happen, and that's what we had talked about earlier. It's going to be the next trend. And so we've got 2 or 3 subdivisions now that have gotten to a point of coming to planning. So, I think last month we had higher home sales here in Lebanon than Mount Juliet. So a lot of people are gravitating more this way. Our unemployment is 3.1. Gosh, I remember when I was trying to hire people when the unemployment was 4.5, and it was you were just looking for anybody who had a heartbeat, and that would show up because it was so hard to find help. And so now at 3.1, the one thing that has happened is the wages and all have had to increase to find that help and to get them jobs. But we're having more and more people move into Lebanon and Wilson County because there's still a lot of jobs out there. I went to a job fair yesterday, and they were hoping to hire 1,000 people for an area company down. And and you look around where they're still trying to Steve's door, station door. They want to pay bonuses for people to come and hire there. And there's a lot of jobs, a lot of great opportunities here, even with our unemployment, right, like it is. Robert is our finance commissioner. One thing that Robert and Mark Pody helped us with was the getting it set up and approved that we can do a biannual budget this year. So I asked Robert to come join us and kind of tell a little bit about our budget, what we've gone through this year, and then what we expect to do this next year. So I'll turn it over to you, Robert.
The biennial budget will be something that will be next year. We'll actually be working on it next year, but we will be asking the comptroller for his approval to do that because we start the budget process in November for the following June. So it's about an 8-month process, and we'll start asking the comptroller for his approval for us to do the biennial budgeting for next July 1. We did get our budget turned in the first part of July to the comptroller. We were the 3rd city in the state to submit it. Last year we were the first, and so,
which aggravated him. He wanted to be first
we
again.
slipped 2 spots this time. But out of 340 some odd cities, that's not too bad. The budget process with the council went extremely well. I have been here before and talked a little bit about what we were doing in that budgeting process, but the best way to describe it is the city, if you will look at the growth since 2000, and you can either use 2000 or 2010, we've had phenomenal growth in that 15-year, 16-year period of about 62+%. We've gone from 20,000 citizens to almost 33,000 in that 16-year period. We're at 32,732 right now. was the special census count. So during that time, the number of full-time city employees has gone down 2.9%. So we're serving.
Doesn't make sense, does
a
it?
tremendous number of, we're sustaining a lot of services, some of them at no charge to the citizen for that particular service, whereas a lot of cities will have a sanitation fee for picking up trash and things like that. We don't. That's all just part of the general fund expense. So we've seen the tremendous amount of growth in the population. One thing I repeatedly point out to the council and the mayors, every single one of those extra 13,000 people since 2000 contribute to the trash problem. It doesn't matter if you're a day old and we're talking diapers, or if you're talking 100 years old and you're talking diapers. Everybody contributes to the trash problem that's breathing and living in the city of Lebanon. So during that 15, 16-year period, there's been one employee added to the sanitation department. That's pretty phenomenal, and it speaks well of Jeff and Lee Clark and their management to be able to do that. What we're having to do now is to move to one-person trucks instead of the three-person crew on a truck. Those trucks are a little more expensive, but in the labor market, eventually they more than pay for themselves. And so in this budget that just started July 1, there is money appropriated to purchase another one-person truck. It's a $275,000 truck. The expenditure is a little painful up front, but like I said, if you're paying the wages now for a three-person crew, it has a payback to the city. This budget has over $2 million new dollars in it. Part of that comes from the special census that was done. That will bring in somewhere between $750,000 and $800,000 new dollars. It also was, this budget contained keeping the property tax rate unchanged at 0.6075. When you compare Lebanon to comparable sized cities around, most of them, not all, but most of them have a higher property tax rate than what we were. With the reappraisal, it was going to go down, and the council voted to keep it level. And the reason that is because we've grown so much, and yet we haven't been keeping up with our growth as far as staffing and equipment and the other things. The question came, do you implement getting back to more normal support staff over a period of 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 years, or do you try to take a big chunk of it at one time with the new $2 million in the budget? Anybody can sit and second guess. If we continue to grow at the rate we have for the last 5 years, then if you try to implement it over a 5-year period, you're going to be right where you were when you started. So the council decided to move forward with taking that $2 million new dollars and helping improve police response time, putting more police on the street, new fire hall, more firemen to improve ISO ratings for people around 109 area. It also is not just 109, but if you have a station down there, you're going to have a quicker fire response time if you live anywhere else in the rest of the city. Because if they're pulling all their trucks and headed to 109, then you've got a slower response time somewhere else. So it's a benefit to everybody in the city, not just the people at 109. But quicker response time on police, quicker response time and better service on fire. We've got the truck in there for $275,000. There's some staffing. The city is going to be adding a risk manager which is critical, in my opinion, for the long-term economic benefit of the city. A lot of people don't understand and appreciate risk managers. Risk managers keep you from getting sued and being liable for a number of ways that it's easy with an operation as big as ours. It's easy to have something that could be a potential danger that you could be liable for in a lawsuit. And a risk manager is somebody that's very focused on making sure that proper warnings are up and proper verbiage is out there on certain things, proper way to set up even hand towels in the bathrooms. I mean, there's no end to what you can do to help protect yourself. And most cities of our size have already got a risk manager on staff, just like Wilson County's got one. So this helps with your insurance costs. It's no secret that insurance costs for governments is high because everybody loves to sue governments because they think there's a lot of money there. And so one of the things, we are very fortunate in this city that we do have some reserves. And of course, one of the questions comes up is, why don't you spend all the reserves out before you raise any rates? And the answer to that is, if you start spending your reserves for reoccurring salaries, you will be broke shortly. That's not wise financial management for a person to do. If you're going to eat up your savings to pay your monthly utility bills, a financial advisor would look at you and tell you that you're going down the wrong path. The same is true with the city. And so the fire engine is going to be close to $1 million. We will write a check for the fire engine, is the game plan. We'll use our reserves for that one-time purchase, but not to pay the salaries of the firemen in there. And that comes out, that'll be about $750,000 on an ongoing basis every year is there to staff that fire hall. There'll be another $250,000 or so in debt service to pay for the for the fire hall. So you're looking that new fire station will be an investment of about $1 million, but it's going to improve the fire service that this city provides all of its citizens and not just in one location. So I think there's some very wise investments. There in this budget also, there was a commitment made by the council to take $5 million of the quote reserves. That's not what the state calls them, but that's what they are. And to put it into what they call committed funds, that is for emergencies only. And then there's several $1 million then left in the city accounts that they can use for such things as expenditures of the fire truck, or if there was one of the other sanitation trucks goes down and they need to go and do an emergency purchase for one, we would be able to write a check for that. So the city has some financial resources, but it couldn't use those up just to try to grow, to meet the demand of the growth that we've had. Growth's a wonderful thing, and if you and I are getting ready to move out of town, we love the idea that our home has grown in value. If we're living here and we get a reappraisal, we're like, okay, well, I wasn't planning to move, and you're really not happy that a sheet of paper says your home's worth more. But, that's part of growing. And this city has grown so much, that's part of the demand for housing here. The mayor mentioned all the apartment complexes that are in the planning stage, home developments. From a demographic and geographic perspective, there's nothing that we see in finance that makes us think that the growth's fixing to stop. Obviously, the economy can have an impact on that, but as of right now, where you sit, this area has an advantage even in there. So if the rate of growth didn't sustain, we still should be in a growing mode in this region right now.
I'd say within the next 4 or 5 years, the city will be close to pushing 40,000 people right here. So it's a lot of growth. It's a lot of planning. And the one thing that's so fortunate for Lebanon is that we have a lot of traffic to help support us through sales tax and gas tax and other things because of the interstates. And we have a lot of people that are just running up and down the interstate from all over the nation, and we're able to get a little bit of support from them instead of having it all on our own community. The one thing also too is our philosophy of what we feel like is important is no different than the improvement and addition into the Lebanon senior citizens, but also kind of like our baseball and soccer and our recreational sports. A lot of communities charge people for those facilities and to use them. Here we provide that, and we have partnerships with Kiwanis and Rotary and different groups that run and operate it, but we maintain the fields, pay the utilities, pay the manpower. We have some of the best fields around, but we spend about $800,000 a year on our youth by doing that. We don't charge $100 for everybody to participate. No, we take care of not only citizens of Lebanon, but also a lot of the kids out from the county. So we believe that's a good investment, and I don't see of anything changing, to try to raise money, from those sources. So I believe it's a good investment. We have, and as Robert's done, we've had a plan ever since Robert has come of looking at our health insurance. We've been able to reduce our health insurance. I think it's a little over $1.5 million, 1.6 that we've reduced in healthcare costs by offering different, one shoe doesn't fit all. So we've had different options. And with that, we've been able to reinvest that into our employees and kind of bring in their salaries and all up without coming and asking the community for a lot of extra dollars for our employees that we have at present. But we are growing. It's kind of like the fire hall. We'll have to man it, 15 firemen. That's 700 plus thousand, a year, just for the operation of manpower. But if we're going to be a city, we need to serve everyone, and we have a sad thing is we have an ISO rating for 3/4 of our city and a 10 for the other. We need to make that investment in the 10940 area, and that's what this budget does, and so that we can make it a 2 all the way across. So, and that will cut insurance rates for a lot of people. So we have a lot of great things going. Robert is kind of brought in, when he came in, a lot of stability with working with the council, keeping them well informed, and also answering any questions that they may have. And the last 2 budget years have gone so smoothly that it's really it's so good compared to what my first few years were, because it was almost like, well, let's wait until October 1st before we get our budget. And I said, they just kind of dragging and holding you down. This way we're ahead of the game. We're moving forward. We're not always in this limbo that was happening before. And so appreciate Robert and all he's done. Sarah, have you got anything you want to talk about? You can't tell. You're sworn to secrecy. That's the thing about Sarah there. She can't tell you. but she has a lot going on, so. Um, I'll kind of close it up here. Elections are coming up. I hope everybody will get registered and vote and get involved in our community. We need everyone to be more involved. There's a lot of people that are so tied up with just going through, making a living and doing their thing. But, the big payback for yourself and your family is also to be involved in your community. So encourage everyone to find some niche, some way that you can be a part and be a part of the good that's coming out of Lebanon. So thank y'all for coming. Is there any questions, sir? Mark, your world going good?
It is. I do got a question. How long does the truck last? Is it 275,000? What's the year? Is it 10
A
years?
sanitation truck?
Yeah,
We have them over there about 10, 12 years old.
10 trucks.
Yeah, we if they still run, we still run them. So
Okay. Well, cutting down from 3-man to 1-man crews, that's just a huge savings in the long
Yeah.
run.
It is, particularly because in government, traditionally, Mark, and you know that, the benefit cost is your huge cost traditionally in government for an employee. Your salary, and that's been a change that a strategic change that we've tried to make here in the city too. Governments traditionally have paid very little wages but had astronomical benefits. And I think that's a failed strategy, particularly in this day and time with health insurance costs the way they are. And also you can offer an employee a great health insurance plan, but if he can't make a house payment and he can't buy food and put on the table for his children, then I question how much you've really given him as far as quality of life. And so we've been able to, through the use of HSAs, but also through choices of different plans, been able to save a lot of money, and we've been able to reinvest that in better wages for the employees. So instead of having that, we've come closer to having that. But saying that, still, we have to take a look at the retirement cost and the health insurance costs for each employee, and that really does make a huge difference in the savings on the 3-man down to 1-man crew.
Well, your 1-man trucks transfers the labor to a mechanical device, which saves you on workman's comp claims or just the wear and tear on the individual employee and your health benefits.
Exactly right.
And the one thing is kind of like when Robert mentioned the fact of our labor force over the years had gone down 30%. I saw your face there. I said, how can that be with
I'm
that
thinking
increase?
you started with the
But yeah, that's the numbers, and we have asked more of our employees and all, and so it was time for us to pay them more what the job descriptions really are. So we thank everyone for joining us. We'll stick around if anyone do. John, thank you for coming and filming for us. So, thank you.